Hello everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel for another video. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a sneak peek for some Miss Ink Stamps products. I'm going to be showing you a couple of stamps in their personalities line. This first one is called Humble. Really cool, a lot of great words in there. You have a badger and some other cute things with it, but I love the words in there like friendly, compassionate, hardworking. So I think that one is great. Then we also have Cunning, and it's got a snake and it's got words like leadership and just some really just good words. There's two others that are going to be released in this line, and one has a lion and one has a raven. And then I'm going to pair that up with the Shields and Crest die. So let's go ahead and get started with our backgrounds. I've got two pieces of mixed media paper because I wasn't sure how much I wanted to do to these backgrounds. And then I did bring in some Simon Hurley Create ink. That color is some later Gator. And I've got a blending brush, and I am going to do a little bit of an ombre look on both of these. So we're starting out dark at the bottom, and we're going to work up into the white, and then we're just going to blend that out. And then once I'm done with that, I'll clean up my mess and I will work on the next one, which that one is going to be yellow. So I've got some shooting star. We'll bring in another blending brush, the yellow one that I have. And same process, we're just going to do an ombre look where it's darker at the bottom and bring that color up to the top until it blends into the white. I always love doing this. I think it's super fun. Now what I want to do with those stamp sets, after I sprinkle a little water on that background, what I want to do with those is I'm going to treat them like a background. So I'm not going to take them off of their sheet. You absolutely could, obviously. Each word is separate, each image is separate, but I'm going to treat it like a background. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the sheet. Now this is a new stamp, so I'm going to just condition these real quick with an eraser. I'm just rubbing that eraser on there. That'll just help grip the color a little bit better, because sometimes with new stamps, it pools up on the back of the stamp, and this will just condition it so you don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to leave it on its acetate sheet. I'm going to ink the whole thing up using some black ink. This is some Black Widow ink by Simon Hurley Create. Make sure that's good and covered, and then I'm going to take my background and I'm going to put that directly straight down on top of the stamp set, and I'm just going to rub. I'm going to rub all around, hold with one hand, rub with the other, making sure I don't shift anything, and I got a pretty good impression on that one. So that one worked out pretty well. I don't get as good of an impression on this one, the Humble one, and so it's okay, I work with it, but what I should have done is pressed a little bit more in the center. I was working mostly on one side and then the other, and should have done a little bit more in the middle. But I already had a plan for that, so I'm not worried about it. And then we'll clean up our mess, and then we can move on to making our crests. Now, I didn't have any green cardstock in my entire stash. I didn't have any green cardstock that matched the ink color that I used. So I'm going to make my own cardstock just by taking the ink pad and directly putting that on some white cardstock. I want to heat set that really, really well. Well, we're not going to make our crests just yet. We will be working on our crests, but first I want to stamp out each of those big images. So for the green one, I'm going to grab our snake. I've got some black embossing powder. I did use an anti-static powder tool, and then I just have a coffee filter to collect my fine detail black embossing powder. I'm going to ink that up with a pigment black ink. This is some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. I'll stamp that, and then I'll cover that with that black embossing powder, and then I'm going to heat set that till that is smooth and melted. It turns shiny, goes from a matte finish to a shiny. And then we can do the same thing with our badger. I'm going to use my anti-static powder tool, ink that up several times, stamp it down onto my yellow cardstock, and then I'll cover that again with our black detail embossing powder. I'm going to clean up my mess because I've been tempting fate here by not having it cleaned up. Surprised I haven't dumped it everywhere, because I have done that. So, and then we're going to heat set that as well. The next thing we will do is we're just going to fussy cut each of those little images out using our scissors. Easiest way. I know people hate fussy cutting. I don't mind it. Of course, I'd rather have a die, but I don't mind it. So I'm just going to hold my scissors and move the image with my non-dominant hand. And that just makes it a little simpler to keep a little bit of a border around my images. And then we'll do the same thing with our snake. And he's a little bit easier to cut out. I could have done a couple of these. It would have been kind of fun to do more than one and do one on the inside of the card, and maybe I'll go back and do that. I don't know. All right, so then next I need to work on our crests. So I'm going to put those together. I've die cut those out using some of the different cardstocks that I have. I've got black, the green, I did make that one, and so we're going to attach that down to the black shadow piece. And then I did die cut out a snake using some dark gray, and I did the same thing with the badger. And we're just using liquid glue to adhere everything together. Now, I did say this is a part of a sneak peek, so these stamps are actually going to be available on the 27th, so come Saturday. I'll have links down below. Nothing will be active until the 27th, except that die set, the shields and crests, that is available now. So if you just really like that, you could go ahead and get that now. That's available. And I thought it would go perfectly with our little personalities stamp set. And I'm going to trim down my paper. I noticed there were some lines on the side, so I actually end up trimming this down to be slightly smaller than 4 inches by slightly smaller than 5¼ inches. And I have black cardstock. I did originally have that cut down to be 4¼ by 5½, so the full front of an A2 size card, but I do end up trimming those down also. I do want a little bit of a white border because my card base is going to be white, and I just think that makes the black pop a little bit more. And so we've trimmed down our pieces, and then we can start assembling. And I'm just going to use liquid glue for that. So I'll attach down our first one, which was the humble. We'll put that on top. And then this is where I'm like, ooh, I think I want to trim down the black cardstock a little bit so I can have that white border. So I'm going to bring in my guillotine trimmer again and just trim off just a slight bit from all 4 sides. I don't want too much off. And then once that is all trimmed down, we can start assembling everything else. So we'll attach down our cunning to our black shadow piece. And then we'll attach these down to our card bases. Now the crests and our little animals, we're going to use some foam tape on those. We're going to make those pop. And I am going to put the badger and the snake over the top of what I had stamped. That's just one way to kind of fix the little badger not being fully stamped. And it adds some dimension to it, draws your eye to it, which is fun. Playing around with where I want that shield, so we'll peel off the release paper and we'll put that down also. Same thing with our badger. And the badger shield. And then once that's done, that's going to finish off our 2 cards for today. I really like how these turned out. Very happy. That was super fun to do, and they were pretty quick. And I can think of several people these would be fun to send to. So if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.